Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and I wanted to do a report on a Minnesotan, well, two Minnesotans that they were YouTubers, and one man, they were a couple, and the man tragically passed away. Where Pedro Ruiz III convinced his girlfriend after some debate that she would shoot him in a sort of magic trick for YouTube, and he would hold up an encyclopedia, and the encyclopedia would stop the bullet. And I guess it's kind of wrong to call it a magic trick. It's more of just like an extreme act. So a dangerous act to get people interested. So he actually tested this, and the first time it worked, where the book actually stopped the bullet. But obviously you can't use the same book twice, so he went and used a different book, and when he did it again, unfortunately the bullet went through and killed him. Because obviously to do a dangerous YouTube video, you have to do it in the most dangerous way possible, so, instead of just having her shoot him, she shot him in the chest. And or one of the most dangerous ways possible anyway. So she's posted on $7,000 cash bail after being charged with second-degree manslaughter. And I'm not really a big fan that she was charged, because I guess they're just following the laws. I understand that, but is this really what you need to, the type of person you need to be charging? What benefit is society getting by spending all this money to put her in jail and put her through the courts? And is she, she's not actually a threat to society or anything like that. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense, but they chose to prosecute. So another interesting thing, it was a 50 caliber Desert Eagle pistol. Now, if you're gonna do something like this, do you really need to use a 50 caliber Desert Eagle pistol? That's questionable. So now I got thinking, and I'm like, well, what happens when a magician, magicians, sometimes their acts go wrong and they die. Do those assistants really get charged? And are YouTubers being held to a different standard as, say, magicians? And is that fair? Is this an example of the justice system being behind the times and not fully upgrading laws to fit the new technology of YouTube and the new how the new form of magic and things like that? This isn't exactly magic, but it's close enough. And I found on a message board that said the usual verdict is death by misadventure. Fancy word for accident. People involved in the trick aren't generally held responsible. The magician had the responsibility of ensuring his own safety. As for and then it's a different question. So I did a Google. I'd never heard of death by misadventure before. Did a Google search and came up with this Wikipedia page. A death by misadventure, as recorded by coroners and on death certificates and associated documents, is one that is primarily attributed to an accident that occurred due to dangerous risk that was taken voluntarily, which is pretty much the case here. He did it voluntarily. In fact, he was urging her, and she initially said no, and he continued to urge her. In contrast, when a cause of death is listed as an accident rather than a misadventure, this implies no unreasonable willful risk. Misadventure is so misadventure seems to fit really well, because this was a dangerous, willful risk. Misadventure is a legally defined manner of death, a way by which an actual cause of death, trauma, exposure, etc., was allowed to occur. For example, a death caused by an illicit drug overdose may be ruled by misadventure as the user ignored the risks of the drugs. Misadventure is a form of unnatural death, such as accident, suicide, or homicide. And if you click this, you can see, I don't know if you can read this, but it says acute cause of death, acute alcoholic poisoning, and then under it says death by misadventure. So, but I was like, well, that's what the coroner is going to record then. So, what about, in terms of the law and what's going to be prosecuted? And by the way, I looked to see what their what the autopsy said, and I didn't see any. It wasn't released yet that I could find, so not to the public, anyways. It says here, Misadventure Law Legal Dictionary. A possible inquest verdict by a coroner that is similar to, but said by some to be different from, an accident. When applied to homicide, misadventure is the act of a man who, in the performance of a lawful act without any intention to do harm, and after using proper precaution to prevent danger, unfortunately kills another person. Now, was this proper precaution? I mean, they had a book to hold up. They had tried this previously. I mean, I don't know if... I'm guessing that's not proper precaution, but I don't know, who knows legally until it's actually tried. I mean, I'm no lawyer. I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer. I'm just trying to bring you some information here. You can make your own judgment. The act upon which the death ensues must be neither malum inse nor malum prohibitum. The usual examples under this head are 1. When the death ensues from innocent recreations, or 2, which I would think this would be an innocent recreation. 2, from moderate and lawful correction, in foro domestico. 3, from acts lawful and indifferent in themselves, done with proper and ordinary caution. So if misadventure doesn't apply, my guess is because they were too reckless and, they didn't use proper precaution. And I don't know what precautions magicians all use, but I'm guessing it's more than just trying the trick once. But then we have this other law firm that I came across, and they have a slightly different description that I thought was interesting. So it says when no one is charged over an accidental death, another category of death which occurs outside the sphere of death from natural causes is when someone dies by accident and no one is charged in relation to this event. In these circumstances, the death is recorded by the coroner and on death certificates as a death by misadventure. When the person who died voluntarily took a risk, which is the case here, or an accident when the person who died did not take a deliberate risk. This would be death by misadventure, not accident. So I thought that was interesting. So if you want to read up on this, they go through all the different types of murder, like what is murder, an attempted murder, what is manslaughter, voluntary and involuntary manslaughter, voluntary, involuntary, and then when no one is charged. So they could have not charged if they wanted, as long as death by misadventure is on the coroner decision on the death certificate. So I'm kind of rooting for Monalisa Perez not to get charged or not to get convicted, or at least get a reduced sentence or something, because I don't really see the benefit of having her in prison. And, you know, he said the evidence is extensive, too. It's not like this is questionable. It was all over their YouTube, and it also says, in the video, he said, imagine when we have 300,000 subscribers. So, you know, he said, I told them the bigger we get, I'll be throwing parties. So is what he responds to her. She's the one that said the 300 subscriber comment. So, and that's what he looked like. It's unfortunate, but you know, be careful if you're making YouTube videos, the dangerous ones, and if you're helping someone make dangerous ones, you could get charged with manslaughter. So it's really up to you to say no when people ask you these things. But just a little nugget of information, something to chew on for a little bit. And if anybody finds the death certificate, please let me know, and you know, I'll update the video or make a new video about it. So have a good one, guys.